In the distant mountains of Japan, there lived a man people called the Silent Walker. He never spoke, yet his presence carried a depth that made people pause their thoughts and question their own lives. Every morning, long before the sun touched the horizon, he walked along an ancient stone path. He carried no phone, no bag, no food. The only object he kept close was a small, old journal, with pages softened by time and a cover worn by years of quiet journeys. The villagers believed he had once been a respected samurai, while others whispered that he had lost someone he loved. But no one truly knew. People only knew one thing: his silence felt more meaningful than most people's words. One morning, a young man named Hiroshi decided to follow him. Hiroshi had reached a point where everything felt heavy: expectations, heartbreak, pressure, failures. He felt like a broken piece in a world that demanded perfection. He had tried running from his problems, distracting himself, pretending, forcing himself to be strong, but nothing seemed to change. Perhaps, he thought, following this silent man would give him the peace he desperately needed. The silent walker continued his journey as Hiroshi followed from a distance. The trees swayed gently and the soft breeze carried a cold but calming scent. Birds were waking up, singing their first song of the day. For the first time in weeks, Hiroshi felt like he could breathe. After nearly an hour of walking, Hiroshi finally asked, "Sensei, why don't you ever speak?" The old man stopped. His stillness felt like time had paused. He gently opened his journal and turned it toward Hiroshi. Inside was a single line: "Life doesn't get easier. You get stronger." Those words hit Hiroshi's heart with a force he didn't expect. The sentence was simple but carried a depth he had never understood. The silent walker closed the journal and continued walking. Hiroshi followed again. The silence between them felt different now, not empty, not cold, but comforting. It felt like the kind of silence that heals you slowly without letting you know when it began. After a long climb, they reached a cliff overlooking the entire village. The sun was rising, painting the world with a soft golden glow. The mountains stood tall, strong, unshaken, like they had seen thousands of lives come and go, thousands of pains and joys fade with time. The old man opened his journal again, showing Hiroshi another line: "Pain is a visitor. Strength is permanent." Hiroshi stood quietly. He had always believed that his pain defined him, that it was permanent, that it was him. He never realized pain was just passing through, and the strength he gained from surviving it was what stayed forever. The old man closed the journal and began walking downward. As they descended the pathway, Hiroshi noticed the world differently. The rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, the flow of wind, all felt meaningful in a way he had never experienced. His thoughts were quieter, his heart wasn't as heavy. Halfway down, the silent walker stopped beside a fast-moving river. The water crashed against rocks, broke apart, and formed again. The old man placed his hand in the cold water and said softly, "Do you see the water? It never fights the rock. It bends, flows, finds a way. In the end, the rock breaks, but the water survives." Hiroshi stared at the water. He realized he had spent so long resisting life. He wanted everything to go exactly as he imagined. He tried forcing situations, holding on to people who no longer cared, clinging to expectations that were already broken. He was like a rigid tree refusing to bend, only to snap under pressure. They continued walking until they reached a small shrine hidden beneath cherry blossom trees. The petals drifted through the air slowly, as if time was moving in slow motion. The world felt soft, gentle, sacred. The silent walker picked up a fallen cherry blossom petal and placed it in Hiroshi's hand. "This petal," he said, "falls not because it is weak but because its time has come. Accepting the fall is part of its beauty." Hiroshi looked at the petal closely. Life too had seasons: times to bloom, times to let go, times to fall, and times to rise again. They sat beneath the tree. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, it felt like a conversation, one beyond words. Then the old man finally spoke again. "People believe they break because life is cruel," he said, "but they don't break, they bend. It only hurts because they resist the bending." Hiroshi sighed deeply. For the first time, he felt his own emotions loosening, softening, reshaping. The old man pointed toward the horizon. "Do you see that mountain?" he asked. "It was not always this strong. Thousands of years of wind shaped it, storms polished it, even earthquakes carved pieces from it. Suffering does not destroy, it transforms." They continued walking further into the forest, deeper than Hiroshi had ever gone. Birds flew overhead, leaves crackled beneath their feet, and a distant waterfall hummed like a peaceful chant. After a while, they reached an old wooden bridge. The wood was ancient and some parts looked fragile. Hiroshi hesitated. "Sensei, this bridge may break." The silent walker smiled gently. "Most people do not cross because they fear breaking, but they remain broken because they never cross." For a moment Hiroshi felt his breath catch. The old man stepped onto the bridge first. Calm, steady, trusting. Hiroshi followed him. The bridge creaked but did not break. When they reached the other side, the old man said, "Fear is rarely about danger, it is about memory. You fear the pain you once felt, not the pain that is coming." They walked deeper into the forest until they reached a clearing where sunlight poured in like liquid gold. The silent walker sat upon a large stone and motioned for Hiroshi to sit beside him. "When I was young," the old man began, "I too believed speaking would solve everything, but words often create noise, silence reveals truth." He placed the journal on Hiroshi's lap and opened it to another page. Written there was, "A calm mind sees clearly. A clear mind lives bravely." Hiroshi felt something shift inside. He had lived his entire life reacting to pain, to fear, to expectations, to pressure. He never paused long enough to see things clearly. The old man said, "Samurai meditated before battle not to avoid fear, but to walk with it without shaking." Hiroshi listened closely. The old man's voice carried wisdom that felt ancient. They continued walking until the path opened into a field of tall grass that danced with the wind. The sound was peaceful, like nature breathing. The silent walker looked up at the sky. "You try to control too much," he said. "That is why you suffer." He opened the journal to its final page. The last line was written in careful, delicate handwriting. "When you cannot control the wind, adjust your sail." Hiroshi read it again. And again. And again. Suddenly, everything in his life made sense. Why things happened the way they did. Why people left. Why dreams changed. Why pain arrived exactly when he least expected it. Life wasn't fighting him. Life was teaching him how to steer. The old man closed the journal and placed it in Hiroshi's hands. "It is yours now," he said quietly. "Not because you are lost, but because you are ready." Hiroshi felt tears in his eyes. Not from sadness, but from relief. For the first time in years, he felt light. They walked back toward the village. But as they approached, the silent walker slowly stepped aside, allowing Hiroshi to walk ahead. Hiroshi turned around, but the old man only smiled. A silent, knowing smile. Without a word, the silent walker walked back toward the mountains, his silhouette slowly fading into the morning mist. Hiroshi watched him disappear. But he did not feel abandoned. He felt guided. He looked down at the journal in his hands. Its pages filled with wisdom, silence, and strength. He knew he would never be the same. He knew he would walk differently now. Not because life would be easy, but because he would be stronger. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "I will adjust my sail." And with that, Hiroshi stepped into his new life. Calm, clear, ready.